Thank you for coming tonight as we learn all about pruning oaks and other native trees. We want to welcome Guy Sternberg to our program tonight. As we talk about this, Guy says most young trees need a little help to become those stately and well-formed oaks that we all enjoy seeing. And so he says we need to start at a young age in pruning those, and we can develop them into those beautiful trees. And he's going to talk a little bit about other native trees, and he says that they may not need as much special pruning as oaks, but the same qualities or procedures apply to those other trees. So we're going to hear a little bit about both. He wants us to know the right and the wrong way about pruning, and he hopes for us to come away with knowing how to do that. He does have a whole collection of tools up here, and he'll share those with you. He does want to caution afterwards to be very careful as you look at those, that we don't want any accidents to happen. A little bit of his information. He's the co-founder of the Star Hill Forest Arboretum in Petersburg. I imagine some of you have been there. I know we had a field trip last fall and thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is considered the most comprehensive certified oak research collection in all of North America. So I think that's pretty amazing that we have something so close to us of such stature. It's also the first arboretum worldwide to be granted international status at ArbNet. So you'll have to check out ArbNet, and perhaps he'll tell us a little more about that tonight. He was the first president of the International Oak Society. He's a founding committee member and past officer of the Illinois Native Plant Society, and he's a life member of various other organizations. At the present, he's part of the adjunct faculty in biology of Illinois College, and they even have interns from there at the Arboretum during the summertime. He's also adjunct research associate for the Illinois State Museum. Plus, he's author of the reference book, Native Trees of North America. Some of you said that you wanted to order that, and we have those here for you tonight. If you didn't tell us ahead of time, you're still welcome to purchase that book, and he'll sign those for you at the end of our program. So, without further ado, we'd like for Guy to come up and proceed with teaching us how to prune our oaks. Thanks for coming.
She took up my whole hour. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, let's see how all this works. Does this work? Okay. Does this work? Yeah, everything works but me. Okay, we're going to go through this. It's a longer program than I typically have for this. So I'm going to ask if you have cameras, if you have phones, please take photos of anything up here that you want to remember or ask more about, because there'll be a lot of text involved, but we won't have time to read it all. You won't have time to remember it all. So please feel free to click, click, click away. And when we get to these tools, I'd like everybody to come forward, because I'm going to stand here and just go through quickly each one and how they work. And if you're back there, you won't be able to see what's going on. So I encourage you, or if you want to come up now, feel free. Anyway, so what we have, this is basically a Venn diagram. And if you know what a Venn diagram is, it has like, you know a lot and I know a lot. We don't know all the same thing, but we know some of the same things. Another party knows a different thing, but they also know the same. So that circle in the middle is where we all share the interests. And then the things on the periphery are the specialties that we call the you when the time comes. So when you have it all together, That's what it looks like, and that's the types of, can you all read this from back there? Okay, so that's the different types of reasons, that, if you will, that you do pruning. I should be using this, shouldn't I? I'm sorry, bad me. So it can be aesthetic and functional pruning. It can be structural pruning for the sake of the tree. It can be biological pruning to prevent possible infections and so forth. And in the middle, if you do this, if you can do all those, it's nirvana. That's when you've succeeded. And that's what we're going to do tonight, is go over nirvana for the young trees so that they can live to be big and old trees. So now this is where you get out your camera, because as you can see, there's a lot of things in all those corners. You don't have time to read them, you won't remember them, but that's sort of categories in each of those bubbles, if you will, and they all contribute in some way to the benefit of the tree. So 3, 2, 1. Ella got them? All right, let's go on. So we're going to first understand some of the terms and things that affect trees. And in this case, tropism is a multilingual thing, but orthotropic is just meaning it's going vertical. And when you have a young tree, his first step is to try to outcompete his relatives and go for the sky. Now, when you see old trees, they're sprawling and so forth, but the young trees, you'll see them like this. These are all, well, the two on the left are all less than 10 years old. The other one's a little bigger, but you can see it maintain that form going all the way up. So that's one kind of tropism. Now, when you move on to old trees, they've already captured the sky. They don't have to worry about it, but they want to get rid of the competition on both sides of them, so they start to spread out. And that's after we are done pruning. That's what we let them do by themselves. But when they get to that point, that means they're an old tree. Now, have you ever heard of the saying that oak trees they grow for 100 years, they live for 100 years, and they die for 100 years? Now, there are some that are longer and some that are shorter, but in general, we're talking about the development stage, the growth stage. That's what we're going to focus on, because that's what matters long after we're gone. Oh, eventually, if it lives long enough, this is what you see. You don't have any idea who 300, 400 years ago was doing the pruning, or if it just was by accident, but that's what you want to see long term. So now the leaves also have different facets of them, if you will. And here you have 3 different oaks that have 3 very different leaves, but they all fit that particular oak and that particular habitat with that particular branching structure and soil and so forth. There's a reason that the trees that have that particular leaf in that area survive, because those that didn't have, one reason were not as successful. So after thousands and thousands of years, you see these trees in various stages and various habitats, if you will, and they are various species. So that's one of the factors that you want to keep track of. Okay, oak phyllotaxis. Phyllotaxis just means the arrangement of leaves or buds on the tree itself, on the twigs. And they are kind of unique. You can see here where you have a terminal bud in the top of the leaf, and immediately surrounding that, there's other competing, what would have been terminal buds, but they're in a little circle. They get pushed aside. So those are the subapical buds that are just waiting. And you can see a little picture right here, looking vertically down. And if you take that and turn it sideways, you can see the top bud, and you can see the ring. It's just like lateral buds, but they're compressed. You can see that right below it. They're just waiting their chance. So if you knock off the terminal bud, several of them are going to come at once. That's another factor we have to deal with. If you have multiple leaders, that's not a good thing. So later on, we also have lateral buds that are sort of spare parts. That's your spare tires, if you will. And they are down here. They sometimes don't germinate at all unless they have to. Sometimes they come up, but they don't grow as vigorously. And the hormones that are in this mean the top dog is on the top. The ones that are right behind them are right in the ring, and the lesser ones are down here. But if something happens that breaks off that top, one of these takes over. So that's their purpose. You say when you're ready. Got it? Okay. So if you take that and look at this, now keep in mind you've got the terminal buds and apical buds there on the side. Look at the top of this. That terminal bud is right here going straight up in the air, taller than anything else. Those buds right around it are kind of close, and they're making a ring around it. Those lateral buds are down here. Some of them didn't germinate, some are down here, but they're not as vigorous. But they all play a part. Okay, balancing auxins and cytokinins. The chemicals that are in a tree, they serve a purpose just like our own metabolisms do. And you have the auxins that come from the top and go down to stimulate the roots to grow. You have the anodines that are down on the roots that go up to make the top grow. As long as that's a two-way street on this highway, all's in balance. But if somebody damages the roots, if somebody breaks off part of the top, whatever happens, that slows down one of these or the other, and they recognize that. They're, oops, uneven. There's three cars on this lane and none on that line. So that's when they start evening it out and taking more attention to whatever was damaged or is falling behind to keep it balanced. So these things are extremely important. We want to make sure that they stay that way. Now, when you transplant a tree, you're losing a lot of the roots. Do you take a lot of the top off? No, you take off the damaged parts, but you leave the top because it has these, and it's going to put all of its strength into rebuilding those roots. That's what you want to see. Well, if you have a question, you holler, okay? Because I'm not going to see your little hand way back there. Just yell at me real loud. Onward. Okay, Ashkenazi did this growth graph of oak trees and the amount of reserve that they have in their little bodies. And of course, when it's early winter and everything is done and everything's been moved back and underground, that's when you have all the way up to here, to the end of winter. And then you can see each of these categories, as things start to happen, you tap that reserve, and then once you start photosynthesizing when everything is going, you start to build it back again. And eventually, this is that. So when's a good time to prune? Do you want to prune when this tree is stressed from having low reserves, or do you want to prune when it's maximum and can respond very well when the time comes? Well, that's your answer, and there's more than one reason for it. So here we go. If you look at that, the gold, whatever color that is, on the edges are the most prime time for the trees. That's when they're at their finest and they're dormant and they're just waiting. The ones in the middle, of course, are very low because a lot's been going on. They've tapped their strength and everything's in between. Now, coincidentally, there's another factor that rides in the middle, and I'm going to show you that right now. Anybody know what that is? Ever hear of oak wilt? Oak wilt is a fatal fungus disease, and it's brought to your tree by the little beetles that become active in early mid-spring, and they can smell oak wilts a mile away, and they can also smell a wounded tree a mile away. And if they've been feeding on oak wilt and they sense something else which is damaged by pruning, by branch breakage, whatever, oh, they can smell sap, zoop, but they go. And they may take a couple of spores of that with them, and if they deposit it and it goes in, that tree in the next 2 or 3 years is doomed. And you won't know it the first year or two, and all of a sudden the tree just dies overnight. But then it's already going through the roots into the next tree. The next year it goes into 3 more trees. The next year it goes into 14 trees in a circle. And by 10 or 12 years, you've got a square mile of dead trees, all because that happened. So do we want to prune and attract those beetles during that red period? Is there anybody that says, yes, you can leave now? Okay, these are some of the factors that we look at and we try to work around. And again, we're back to pruning young trees, the ones that you can work with. You stand on the ground, you can reach anything with some of these tools, and you want to give it a good start and a good format. So what we have here, and again, I'll just read out double leaders, 2 coming up together. Whorls, where you have those rings all coming up at once, and they have a big whorl around there, and they compete with each other. Included bark, and you can see included bark right here, where the main trunk and this strong side branch are so close together that when they all grow, they trap bark in there and they can't make a union. Now, if the branch was wider, you'd have a union, but in this case, no. So that's a very bad thing. And collar cuts are something that we do. Now, I'm going to show you what a collar cut kind of would be. If I can. There it is. Now, can you see the red line? Well, if we want to straighten this tree out, we'd like to have that branch we're cutting smaller than this one, but this is what we were faced with. Now, somebody a year or two ahead cut off some of the branches, and you can see those cuts down here and down there, but they didn't do anything with that double leader. And what does a double leader do if they're competing? One of them wins and the other one falls on his face. And when it tears out half the tree with it. You know, the tree is a goner. So you want to get these and nip them in the bud. So what we do is we cut that, and we cut it right where you have this going on. You've got the collar, which is vascular system that comes up here. Some goes out into there, some goes around there and up to the rest of it. Well, that you can see this little hump right here where the part that went that way is still here. You don't cut down here. You cut just outside of that. If you're not sure, give it another 1/4 inch or so just to make sure you didn't get into that. So there it is. Now we just wait a year or two and that starts to heal over just like the little ones did. I've got another similar tree. It has other similar issues going on. You know, we talk about the ring of buds around the top. A lot of times, most or at least some of those rings will grow along with the lead bud, and it forms the leader straight up, but all these branches that are competing, and as they get bigger and bigger, they're always going to practically suffocate this tree because they're all competing for the same spot, the same level, like a palm tree. So when you see that, you want to thin the herd, make sure that you don't have more than 2 or 3 in any one place, and that they're scattered around there, and you don't cut them all at once. You thin the herd a little at a time. So what we can do here, for starters, can you see those red lines? Well, we can take off some of those that are never going to be big branches anyway, and we'll thin that herd a little bit. And also, you can't see it, but one on the back side and cut off one of the main ones. Then the next year, we'll cut off another main one. And in the meantime, we'll be suppressing some of those so they don't grow too fast. And then at the end, about the 3rd year, we'll take the last one off. So you're raising that crown above where you want to have it. So there we go with those branches off. That same tree, just taken moments after we did some cutting. Now, here's one that we cut one branch off, I think 2 years ago. And that was this one. And you can see it's a good cut because it's got this ring all around it of tissue that's coming back and going to cover all that up. So then the next year, we did the same thing over here. So by that year, that's going to look like this. And you plan ahead. You know, you're going to live more than 1 year. So plan ahead to do this as long as it takes to gradually bring the tree in and don't just stifle it all at once. Okay, orthotopic shoots. Now, orthotropism is when something suddenly sees space and sees something that wants to go straight again. And when you have lateral branches and you suppress some of those and you remove the branch above it that was shading it, suddenly it says, well, number one, I have to recover what they cut off the end, and number two, I've got a place to do it. So it sends up all these vertical shoots, and you can see some right in there. Now let's take a look. This is a branch that eventually is going to come down. It was only about this high, but it was left there until the tree grew up over it. But it was cut, the one above it was cut last year. The sun comes in, so you have all of these that are starting to pop up vertically. Does anybody want those? No. So what should we do? Can you see the red lines? Is there any way to dim the lights a little bit so they can see these more clearly? I can really see them up here, and I imagine they're having a struggle. Yeah, if she can just dim the front part is all, just so you can see that. If not, we'll live with it. But oh, beautiful. We should have done that. Let's start over. Yeah, now you can see it. So what we did was just took a little hand prune and bing, 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 bing. And if it's small like this, and it's got a lot of room on the end to grow, that's not a problem. Sometimes you're taking off a lot and it tries to redo it, and I'll show you what to do that in a bit too. Why don't what? Because they're going straight vertical, they're going to run into branches above them, they're going to twist around each other, some of them are going to lean away and go back to the trunk and even wind around the trunk, and then they're all going to get growing to be this big, and then the whole tree is shot. It's just something that they do. I can't describe it. But you know, if you look at the old trees that someone walked away from it, that's the problem you have. And if you do this, you don't have the problem. So anyway, that's what it looks like after we did the cutting, that insert there. So you've still got the tree growing out this way. You've got a couple of lower branches that are kind of facing outward or downward, but you don't have all the vertical stuff going right up through the middle of the crown. Okay, co-dominant leaders. Now I went and I put this brace on this tree. I'm standing on the porch of a house looking out past a little bench at this tree. Well, why would I put a prop on that tree? It looks fine, doesn't it? Well, let's go around the other side and look back at the tree. Oops. That tree had been at 2 trunks at one time. A heavy storm took one of them out, but they were so close that each one didn't have roots facing the other one. There was this blank spot in the middle, and you can really see it if you look closely. All this is decayed, and all the roots are going out that way or out that way. There's the house right there. Wherever roots grow, they hold, they don't push. So all the roots that were holding us from jumping onto the house are gone. They never happened. The only thing that happened was that the other stem was doing that, and as long as they were together, they were okay. But when one broke loose and fell, problem. Now that tree won't last forever. He wanted it to last for a while, so we put in the prop, did a little bit of crown reduction, and the tree, I think, that was about 30 years old. The tree is still alive right now, but it won't last as long as the younger ones of you probably, but it's a start. So bad leaders, co-dominant leaders going bad. Just a little bit on roots, because you think of pruning as being above ground, but the roots are what we don't see, and there's more root growth down there under the ground than there is on the top. You know that if you have a tree that's, say, 100 feet tall, the roots that are going underground, they don't grow more than 2 or 3 feet down unless you're in sand, but they spread out. If it's a 100-foot tall tree, the roots will grow each direction 300 feet on average. So you've got a root system that's 600 feet across. And of course, if it runs into your building, that changes. But you've got a lot going on with the roots, and all of it starts right at the base of the tree. So when you look at this was a tree that was on a hillside by a creek, and it got undermined, and the soil fell away. And what you can see here is the tree up on top. And what is this mess down here? As they all grow, they're just going to fight each other out, and they're going to strangle each other. And the tree will have nothing to hold on to and nothing to get oxygen from, and so forth. So that's a bad situation that's beyond hope. We just wait it out. But there are others. Here's one that was planted. Somebody bought a tree in a container and just popped it out and stuck it in the ground. Well, what happens to a tree growing in a container, the roots are starting to do that, aren't they? They're small, you don't notice them, but unless you cut them or spread them out when you plant the tree, they just keep getting bigger in that circle. And these are getting to the point where they're starting to strangle the tree's real root system. And you have flares that come down all directions that will go on out and be the true leaders, if you will. But when it's grown in the container or otherwise manipulated in some way, these started to circle around instead of going out like they should. So the only thing you can do with that is hope you catch it in time and cut those away and let the real roots take over again. Here's another one that I did late, but I saved it. There had been a root that went right across this locust, about 1.5 feet in diameter. You can see a cut right here from a root, and a cut right here, and a root going over. And you can see where that root had been trying to choke the life out of that. But it wasn't totally choked. And I did this, and 10 years later went back, and you would never know that this was there because it finally breathed and it finally grew again. If we had not cut that, the tree would have roots on one side. Winds would have taken it down by now. So if you're not sure, wash the root a little bit away at the base of your tree, especially if you planted it and it came out of a container, by all means. Take a fire hose, take whatever, take a air spade if you have it, and get the root away and see if there's any circling roots. And if you can just even take a piece of it out, like you've got a root coming out like this, and the other one wants to cross it, just take out the part that's crossing it. That's all you have to do. You can let the other one rot away. You don't have to pull it all. But that gives that tree a new lease on life. Here's another one. This is the beech, and that's what I did here. There was a root that was going across all of this. I just cut it there, and I cut it back here. Now these roots are all developing. And there was already one under that was paralleling, and this was already dead, so that didn't hurt a thing. I did that maybe, 20, 30 years ago. The tree's doing fine. If I hadn't done that, the tree would be in the fire pit someplace. That's what you don't do. That is not pruning, okay? That's just to wake you up. So we're going to go through a 15-slide case study of taking an oak that's about this big. You've had it growing a few years. It's time to clean it up and give it hope for the future. So we're going to start from step 1 to step 2, step 3. I'm going to walk you through each one of these. Okay, she's asking about if you do plant a small tree, how long do you wait before you start pruning? And the answer is multiple, of course. But when you plant it, if there's a broken branch or dead branch, you prune that off. If they have root issues, you try to take care of that as you're planting it. That's crucial. Make sure all the roots are going out, or if they won't go out, cut that part off and make it regrow out. You don't want to have the circling. Then you give it a year or two. And when it's been planted, it has to take all those enzymes that are from the top that are feeding the roots going down there, and it has to regrow all those roots, because it doesn't grow much on top for a while. After a year, if it's a 1-inch tree, after 2 years, if it's a 2-inch tree, that's sort of a rule of thumb. Then you start to see it grow again. That's the point where you want to go and do more. But you can immediately do broken branches, diseased branches, things that are a problem. Okay, so here's the case study, and you can see, did you get a picture of this, everybody? That's the factor that we're going to be considering throughout this. Well, let's go through them one by one. Well, this is a hybrid oak tree that I'd grown from 2 trees that we crossed. And that's, I'd say, maybe 6 inches in diameter at the base. And it's been growing okay. Right now, it doesn't look bad superficially, does it? But you can see, if you imagine 5 or 10 years down the road, where a lot of these are going to be problems. So we're going to go in there, and we're going to start at the top, because that's the most important. Everything that's on the bottom eventually will come out, but the top is always going to be there. That's the future. So we'll start there and work our way through it. Oh, can you look on top and see those red circles? What you see there are several leaders that are competing for dominance, and they're trying to out-choke each other and so forth. Now that, again, is the terminal bud and all the little subapical buds that were around it, all trying to fight for the being king. So we need to address that. So here, and again, you can't quite reach it. You get a pole pruner, get a pole saw, and we'll look at one of those later. And you try to do some thinning and some redirection, so that if a branch goes like this, you take out the part that's going toward the tree and left the part that's going to go away, so it won't compete as much. It becomes a lateral branch. And then you go to the other side, because you never want to look at a tree just from one side. You'll see one view from here, you go over here, and oh, well, I didn't notice that one. So go on both sides, go on several sides, and kind of walk around it and choose what you're going to do. When you cut these, you put them in a pile, because you want to see that the pile is no more than about 1/3 or 1/4 the total tree. And when you reach that point, you want to shut it down. So do the most important things first. So there's what it looks like after that. Big improvement. There's a little bit to go yet, but that will wait for next time. So that was starting with number 4 then. Here's what it is. Now, what else can we do with this tree? Okay, you see this complex of parallel branches coming out here that are all wanting to tangle each other. Well, that one has no future at all, so we can get rid of that. Later on, we can come back and take those and make them go that way. So you want to structurally train them, because they are going to be permanent trees probably. They're going to be permanent branches, I mean. They're high enough, they're 8 to 10 feet in the air, they're going up at an angle. They're good branches, other than the fact that there's too many competing there. So here we're doing some thinning. And that's what it'll look like after the thinning. You can see the difference if you look close. We've thinned the herd. Doug, ready? Did you get it? Okay. Doug's going to have all these, by the way. He'll charge you for them. Oops, I'm sorry. Back up on here. So the next one, okay, that was that one. That's what it is now. So we'll go with number 6 and see what else can we get into trouble with. Well, we've got a lot of clustered branches down there about head high. They don't want to all be there, do they? And at some point, we probably don't want any of them there, because they'll be right about where you can hit your head on them as you walk under the tree. It's right at the break point. If you're a short guy, you can walk under them, leave them. If you're like me, you probably get rid of them because bang. But anyway, you have to thin the herd right now. So we come in there and we take out some of those that I just marked, and we shorten some of the others to take off later just to slow down their growth in the meantime. So that's what it looks like after that instead of before. You can hardly tell unless you look close. I mean, it still looks natural, doesn't it? That's what you want to see. There's so many arborists that just cut and whatever, and they leave you with a lollipop. So that's not what we're trying to do. For the most part, yeah. Some of them are not as complicated as this because of the branching structure that this has. But most of these things are applicable to about any tree that you have, as long as you look at what the tree is, what it's doing. It may have branches in a different formation than these, but you can tell the bad ones. You know, the bad ones are the ones that have dark eyes. So, okay, here we are with that. Now, we've still got room because I've got this pile over here and it's not even near a quarter of the tree yet. What else can I do to help the tree out? Well, you see this low branch that's coming out and it's going way over here. That really has no future either. No, we know that's going to come out eventually. Right now, it's keeping the deer away and it's providing extra energy to make this trunk get wider at the base, but we don't need that much of it. Now, if we leave it alone, it's going to grow really fast and it's going to be almost as big as the trunk is at some point when we want to cut it down. So we want to slow it down by taking a lot of that off and just leaving part of it. That makes it stay there. It still keeps the deer away, but it's smaller compared to the trunk as the trunk grows more. Then next year or the year after, we can go ahead and take that off, and it'll be a much better job. So there we're cutting a couple of them off, and we're taking the long one out back to a shorter one. That's me bending over when I can still bend, by the way. So that's what it looks like then. Can you see the little cuts and so forth that we made? And you can see the other branch. This long branch is now just right here. That's not for long term. That's for short term future, until the tree gets bigger and the deer go away, or you shoot them all or something, or you put a fence around it. But now we're getting close to the end. Now we're on picture number 10. We got 15 altogether, and someone's going to go back and look at it. But we may have one or two more things yet. So let's see what else we can do. So there's where we are at this point. Now you see this other branch that's about head high, but it's also going way out there. That is not going to be permanent either because it's right about here on me, and I'm not going to kill myself walking under it. But we may not want to take the whole thing off. You can make your own judgments. You can take part of it off and cut it back. And if you cut it off, if you take part of it off, don't cut it so that you got an up-facing branch. Cut it so you've got a downward-facing bud so it comes out and goes down, because that suppresses growth. It's still there, but it doesn't grow very fast anymore. So we come out there, we take off again some, and we take the others back. And now that's what it looks like. Yeah, he's asking how basically do we plan where to cut some of these branches back if we want to suppress but not remove the branch. It's called subordination. And a branch, I'm going to set this down. The branch comes out like this. Some of the twigs of it will go up, some of them will go down, some of them will go out, some of them will be duplicates, some that go straight out and straight out and straight out. But what you want to leave is one that's maybe half as long, and that end little twig that you left goes down. Because when it's going down, it's growing more slowly. If you have one that's going up, it's going to go right up into the other branches and it's going to go faster. So that's your key, is find a bud that's in the right direction and go just a quarter inch outside of that. It may be here, it may be there, but try to find the right place. Is that what you need? Okay, so there we have that. So that's what we're left with. Now this is number 12. You know, we're in 15, so there's something else in store, isn't there? Well, let's go back and look a little later in the year. Now, this was in the dormant season. This was the next year when it's approaching dormant season. I just put those things up for scale, but you can see what it's done in that year. It's really happy. It's growing really well. Okay, you see those that we've got marked again? That's some that we left because we didn't want to take off too many in one place last year. But you've got several that are still competing right in here, and they're growing vertically and they're tangling each other. They're above where you would walk on them, but they're going to be bad for each other or for the tree. So now we can come back again I'll let those the other cuts are starting to heal, and we can go back and finish the job. So I'm finishing the job. And I'm done. That was number 15. But we're going to go back and look again. There it is, growing the next year, midsummer. You can see the new growth. You can see the vigorous growth. You can see even through all this that there's none of the problems that the tree had last year, can't you? Now let's go a little bit farther. Here's the second growth flush. Now sometimes the trees are happy, they grow, they do their thing, and then it's still nice out, so they grow again. And once in a while, the vigorous one will grow a third time. But this is the second growth, and you can see the red there on the ends of it. You know, that's now twice as big as the tree that we started with, and it's a perfect tree. Now, if I die tomorrow, I know that this tree, the way we've started it, can live for hundreds of years, and it's going to be thanking me because I did the right thing for it. Yay, me. Okay, when you do some of the cutting to shorten these branches, suppress them, sometimes because they're so suppressed, but you've taken out stuff above them, they want to send up these vertical shoots again. And that you can use a product like this, and there are others. Here's a cotton, and you buy it, you read the label. You do not get the things that have toxic poison, and you don't get the alcohol, or you don't get the asphalt-based things like you see in the stores. When they see them, just take them all, throw them in their trash can, and walk out, because that's toxic, that kills the tree, or it certainly sets back the growth. And you can use things, you know, beeswax and so forth, that are not going to harm it, or you can use these products that are made just for that. Follow directions. So if you must prune during the growing season, which is when oak wilt is active, here are some of the things that you can do. You got to look at these very carefully. These are 3 very different products. One of them has asphalt again. I'm not going to tell you which one, but read the labels and find out what's in them. But you've cut that branch in the growing season, either because it was broken or because you got behind or whatever. Immediately, don't even put your thing down. Just have some of this and cover that cut, because that insect is over there about a quarter mile away. And as soon as he smells what you've done, he's flying at full bore, Superman style, to get to that with his poison. You want to beat him too, because once you've covered that entire cut, he can't find it. He can't smell it. He has no idea where it is. And therefore, you've saved your tree from oak wilt. How many of you think that oak wilt is a bad thing? Everybody raise your hand, because that is what kills more trees. If you get one spore to start in your tree, and a year or two later that tree is dead, then the next ones are affected, and the next ones you have, eventually your whole city block has no more oak trees on it, because it goes through the roots of the next one, the next one, the next one. If you're going to stop it, it costs big dollars and a lot of work to try to get rid of it once it's there. It's so easy to do this and prevent it from happening. Oh, you can get more information on a lot of these products from organizations. In France, where I was doing this the first time, you have a number of organizations that provide courses on that. Throughout Europe, you have additional ones, and throughout the world, you have the one that's actually started right here in the US, and that's this one. And most people, if they say they're certified arborists in our parts of the wood, that is what they belong to. And they had to take a 4-hour test to get it. They have to have 30 hours of credit to keep the renewal going all the time. And they are comparing notes and going to seminars and exchanging their techniques that they've learned and so forth. They are the ones that you want to hire. If you just want to take down a tree or whatever, go get some schmuck with a bulldozer. But if you really want to keep the tree going, get somebody who knows, and ask them if they have experience with that type of a tree that you're asking them to do. Is it a great big tree that's over the top of the house that takes special crane equipment? Is it something that's rare and takes special techniques? What is it? And find out what they've done, and find out who they've worked for, and ask them, did this guy do a good job? Pretend it's your doctor and you're going in for a heart transplant. Take it seriously. Know who's coming, and then by the time you get one and you're satisfied with him, you're going to pay some money. It's worth it. So, final word for this. If I live 500 years, I'm going to be pleased with what I did back then, because that's what you're going for. And once you get past this stage, the tree can pretty well take care of itself unless it's had a major storm damage or something. But you have to get it started right. And when it's a little juvenile kid, just like a human, like a puppy dog, you got to get them trained. And once you say, no, don't do this, do that, oh, and it does that, and you're home free. So I'd like to take the rest of, how much time do we have? 15 minutes? Okay. Well, let's do 2 questions. I want to run through some of these. Now that you know what to do, this is how to do it.
Hi. When is it too late to do some pruning, particularly if you've planted a whole bunch of oaks and just let them grow and then finally you figure out maybe I should have pruned these and there you got double leaders and oops.
Well, there is a rule of thumb, and this year it's out the window because of our climate changing, but it used to be the equinoxes. You stop pruning when you get to the spring equinox. You don't start until you reach the fall equinox, because that's when they're all active. This year we had to shut down a good 2 weeks early because everything was so warming. And when the tree is warming and it's starting to break dormancy, the beetles that find it are also breaking dormancy and they're coming after it. And if you prune it, the tree takes several weeks to kind of seal itself and dry up. So if you're going to prune something, you have to treat every single cut you made immediately if you waited that long. Now, normally it's mid-March. This year we stopped at the end of February. Age of the tree? Okay, if you have a new tree that you planted, let it get established first. Like we were talking, just take off a dead branch or broken. But then once it starts to grow fast again, that's when it's ready. But don't take the whole thing off. Do a branch here and a branch there, the most important ones. And then go back, have a battle plan. For the next year, I'm going to do that one, and the year after that, I'll do the rest of these, and so forth. Well, can you reach what you got to reach? Well, you do what you can. If it's 20 years old and it's not too big, maybe. If you have some stress points that you can still address without killing the tree, maybe. If you don't do it, the tree's going to die young, and it's going to fall on your house and whatever, but maybe you'll be dead by then, you don't know. But, it's better to do it sooner rather than, when you see the size of this tree, it was about 18 feet tall, probably. I'm 6 feet, so 6.5, so you could judge by that. That's the time that you don't want to wait any longer when you get on those things. And we have 2,500 trees in that field, so that was just one tree and you can't keep up with it all, but you do your best. So we had one more. Yes. Just yell real loud because they don't have a spoke for it. What if a tree is really leaning? Why did it lean in the first place? Was it leaning away from another tree? Was it planted crooked? Did it settle from the winds? Well, if it's something that you can fix. Now, if it had bad roots on one side and it's just starting to tilt, a lot of things like apple trees will do, they just start to lean over. You got to prop them or do something. But if the tree just has grown crooked, you can go in there and you can carefully tie it and straighten it up. You can also, it's got multiple leaders, make sure that the weight of the tree is balanced to go straight up. And every tree is different, just like kids. You have one kid that's great and one kid that's a nightmare. Which one do you beat and which one do you shoot? I mean, it's. But anyway, I want to go through. Oh yeah, one more.
Okay, I apologize. I'll make this brief. So in a natural setting, and by natural, I mean maybe, pre-European colonization, like an oak savanna, how do oaks without human intervention deal with these pressures like double leaders? Does it just mean that some die what we would consider more prematurely?
Yeah, what happens in nature, basically, I think is what she's asking, and why do we not have us 300 years ago to fix them? Well, back then they had in this patch of ground 5,000 oaks. Now they have 20. It's the 20 that survive the best. A couple of those probably have double leaded, but they're not compressed. They're sprawling leaded. A couple of them have a lean, but that they grew with a lean because they're growing away from another tree, and the roots compensated every year. It grew out farther. It was matching it. Now, if you have the local utility guy just suddenly cut half of the tree off, it's all lost. But if it grows that way naturally, or if Native Americans bend it over 150 years ago and it's stabilized, that means a lot too. But what you have in general are trees that either you planted or that you found as a young upstarts in a new forest. And you can pick the ones that you want to have long-term, and you can do this with them. And you may not need it. Maybe they're perfectly fine. Chances are not. Chances are you can always find something that you can improve. But yeah, that's a very good point, is that not all of us have trees in your yard. Some of us have trees in the nature reserves that we're working on and so forth. And every tree is different. And some of them, if they're big and bad, you just have to let them be big and bad and not stand on them when the wind blows, because they still could live 100 years. You don't know. But it's better if you give them that good start. So, okay, let's peek at tools here. Now, if you all please gather up where you can see, because those in the back won't see anything. And if you can, try to fill the center seats first, because that's where all the action is. Now, I'm going to put this down so I've got two hands, so get close where you can hear me. Number one is not the tree. Number one is you. And you start out with your protection and eye protection and gloves, whatever you need. You're going to get prepared. Sometimes you have caps, sometimes you have this, whatever that situation calls for. So I'm not going to say any more about that. You all know, protect yourself. I'm always wearing these. I didn't wear these in 1960 when I first got into chainsaw, because they didn't have them. That's why I'm wearing these earbuds with it now, because chainsaws make me perfect. Yeah. I'll just hold it. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Now, when you're walking with, what I was doing there with hand pruners, there are different ones. There are different things that you can use. This is what's called an anvil pruner, where the blade comes down on the blade, or on the what you call it down there, the table. And that is heavy duty for things like oak and osage joints, of things that take a lot of oomph to do them. They also take very careful sharpening, because you have to make this exactly even, or when you close it, you got little voids in there. This is mostly what I use for things like the other common one, which is made more for lighter duty, but it's much sharper all the time, is this. That's a bypass. You have the blade that goes past that, like a scissors. Now, when you sharpen these, when you use these, make sure you don't spread these, because then you throw it away. As long as they come right and touch when you sharpen them. And you always sharpen this blade from this side only, not from the other side. Because it's like sharpening a scissors. You always sharpen those blades to face each other, because these are the two common types of hand pruners, and each one serves a purpose. We have both. Sometimes, if you're just out on your little buggy or something and you want to carry something with you just in case, and you can find them right here, I've got a bypass pruner that I can use. Have a little baby saw. So if I have to do a little bit of saw work, I broke the tip of this off, and I don't know, I should buy another one. But if you carry a multi-faceted tool like that, no matter what it is, chances are it's not going to be heavy duty. It's not going to be what you want long term. Wrench there. Yeah, have one with you if you can. When you've got things like this, you use them for a while, no matter what you do, you're going to get involved. So you've got something you can sharpen with. You want to sharpen the knife and the tip, if you know how to do it. Just remember, this has to be the same number of strokes on either side to balance it. All the strokes on the outside and keep them two pressed together. As long as you do that, and be careful with that, you're fine. If you have a small blade that you can't get into, they make these. And you can go in there between them. So maintenance, every time I use one, I sharpen it, I clean it, I oil it, I put it back, so the next morning I can grab it and it's ready to go. Whether that's a little tiny thing or whether that's this thing, I didn't extend this all the way because I ran out of table. But if you have to reach something 40 feet up, well, 30 feet up in the tree. Now, would you hold this again for a second? Because I need two hands here. Sometimes if you're doing a lot of pruning on fairly small wood, you find something like this. This. Don't do put your finger in there because it'll take your finger all the way through. But if you're trying to save yourself and you know you got to prune 500 trees that day, something like this can be important. It's got batteries that are switchable, and there are saws like that. We'll talk about saws too in a minute. If anyone wants to try this after we're done, and you promise not to put your finger in, I'll let you prune a couple just for the fun. And somebody else can take your picture doing it. Now, when you get into a little bit bigger branches, you have various types of loppers. And this one, can we do it again? This is taking more. So this one, and they have both the bypass kind, which is this, and they have the anvil kind, which is one of those. But you can also do this. You can reach higher in the tree. Now, there's not so much for the added leverage because you're going to break it. But if you have to reach a little bit beyond what you can touch, or maybe there's thorns there you don't want to get into them, you can expand them. And some of these also have ratcheting methods. And if you want to carry one around that doesn't take up too much room, you can do that. And these are not that expensive either. But all these, remember, sharpening daily the right way and oil them all the time. First clean them up and then oil them before you put them away. Yes. One of these. I'm trying to think of what the brand was. This is Green Thumb, and I'd say go online for Green Thumb. Yeah, you can try that. Some of these I've had for a long, long time because I take care of them, and I don't even know what brand they are. And I've got 2 or 3 of these at home. Oh well, have you ever heard of a gun? So now we're getting into something that's bigger than those and those. Now we're getting into saw work. And this, you carry it around like that in your pocket or whatever. You're not going to cut anything. When you're ready, you pop this out and listen. Click. Then it's locked into position. Then you can cut and not worry about it coming back and getting your. Well, this takes a lot of work to sharpen. It takes several angles. Razor sharp. If you know somebody who sharpens saws and you want to pay him $20, he'll sharpen. There's that, and this one will fit in the pocket when you're going around with it. There's a little bigger one that you can actually attach with a scabbard. And when you're done, you can put them back in there. And this actually goes right in your belt, so you can carry it around with you. Just put it on the back so it's not getting in your way. Now, this is silky. It's made in Japan. This is also silky. There's a lot of things that are made by silky. Now, all of these things, not this. You know what WD-40 is. You get in there, all the nooks and crannies. You don't make a run off, but you after you've cleaned it and you've sharpened it before you put it away. This does, it lubricates it for the next time, but it also prevents any dry areas or areas that still have to drop into a water from getting rough. Shovel or something as tiny as one of these pruners. So this is important. Now we're getting into this. Okay, we got to do this again. I'm sorry, you keep bothering. Oh, we had the hand saws. Now we can get an actual power saw, but we have 9 different power saws at home, ranging big, but I've got 2 little battery powered saws, which are, put that down. Now this, it won't do anything because of this. This is the lock, but if you pull this back, Oh, duh. Thank you. Yeah, battery is going down. Fix that. Well, it works sometimes. But anyway, this you can kind of hold with one hand when you're in position. You're never supposed to do this, but you can reach out and cut with one hand and hold on with another hand and so forth. And you can carry it around, gas in it and so forth, of being able to start the gas engine all the time. I'll get this started soon. Now, the thing about these, all of them have an oil repository because they don't put gas in them, but all saws need oil. Now, if you use this for a while and I put it away and try to start it the next time, and because it's not out of gas, it will start, but you're out of oil, there goes $500 down the drain. So it's actually made for chainsaws and winter, thank you, sorry. Blue is for winter when the temperature is down below freezing, and the warmer, the orange ones are for normal weather like today, and all the way up into as high as you want to go. And this is just a little thing I can make so I can pour. I put it back again. I don't think they make these anymore, so you can't steal it. Look around, sometimes you see things, you go online, everything is online anymore. But you can make do with just something that has a little. Oh, no, God, no. They make these specifically for chainsaws and other cycle engines. If you do have one of these that's gas powered, don't use the 84. Solve some of your parts. Go to the higher grade, get 2 gallons, use that with 1/4 of the oil and put into the mixes. And then when you run low in a few days or a few months at the end of the year, you'll get another 2-gallon can. Just money well spent. Now, I just want to show you what a Suki looks like. So I'm going to give this back to you. So, you take that end off from this, we can go high on the tree, higher than this, and you can do some of the work as long as you're careful. Hey, you hit that white hole there? he said they better not. No, there's no problem. So now keep in mind, I will fully drop this, I'll stand under it. This is not all the way extended. You got from here to there, you got from here to there, from there to there, and you got another 5 feet. Still, you can go up. And when you get it all the way extended, you have to lay it on the ground with your foot on the base and start hitting it up, because you can't stand it up otherwise. Then when you're holding it around, you're like this, because it's so tall and so out of balance. But once you get on the tree, then you can kind of position it on the tree, and that's when you do your cut. And then you go home and you die because you're all worn out from your shoulder.
How big of a tree?
You can go 3 or 4 inches if you want to. Now the thing is, you have to position this exactly right. And the chances of doing that depend upon how the branches come out of the tree, are they crossing or whatever. If you've got a clear shot of a branch like this, you can get on there, and we're going to position it just by cutting, and make sure that the angle we can cut is so it's outside of that. Then you're fine. And then when you come close to the end, have somebody kind of help you hold this, because when it goes through, it's going to want to fall. So I'll put it gradually down and bring it back out again. So it's not for everyday stuff, but it is great for when you have one more thing that you have to cut, because that's going to make or break that tree. And what I'm going to do with this.
So when you're cutting one of those bigger branches, do you do an undercut to make sure that it doesn't tear apart?
Yeah, all of us, even the small ones, if you can just grab it, you grab it. And otherwise, you just
What do you think of rope saws?
What's that?
Rope saws.
Yeah, you mean like you have a throw over the branch and you do this? If you're out camping, you need a piece of firewood. Something that's easy to haul around. Yeah.
How do you talk about cleaning your equipment? What do you recommend for a really good cleaning?
Well, most of the time, I don't know. Most of them, oh, I didn't feel like that. Most of them, you can use anything that you would use as like a dish detergent if you want to. A lot of it is oil. Whatever's on there, squirt oil will dissolve it, you can rub it off with a rag. It depends on what's on it and how long it's been on it, and does it have rust or is it just something else? There is no one answer, but the fact that you asked the question told me a lot that you're going to do the right thing. And if you have a certain type of tool, ask the company what they would use to come up with it. They would say, well, anyway, they would say, well, in that case, when you're cutting with us, and they'll tell them, okay, for that I would use so and so.
Local pruners are in another language.
What's that?
Loco, not French.
Right. Well, they're expensive because you're paying for the name, but you know, these are Felcos right here. If you take care of them, they last forever. In fact, that says Felco 30 right on it. But the thing is, if you're going to clean this, you want to do it quickly. You don't want to have it be in water at all. You don't want to have dirt dry on it at all. If it does get dirt that dries because you went in to eat lunch, get it wet again, and then open it up and get your rags and go through everything and get all that off of there. You get a brush, like not a metal brush or anything, but a soft brush, and get in there and get all that out and slosh it around again. And you put that stuff on. This will repel water from getting back onto it, and we kick water off if you got a few little droplets that are still there. And there are a lot of other things you can use. I just happen to use that because it's a name brand that I can trust. But anyway, all this pertains to all that you saw up here tonight. And how to do everything you can. Now, we do have a few books here. If somebody wanted one of those, we'll sign those. And if you have any other questions, I guess we can do that, but we have to get out of here.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight.